Hello, viewer. Today is Sunday, August 28th, 2022. I am the He Hulk, and I am always angry. Rah! Hello, folks. I am Mr. Brown, and I trust you are all very well. I'm going to turn my cam on. Hey! Make the most of it, guys. This will be the one and only time this year. So today is our 250th piece of media for YouTube. So for your viewing pleasure, we have lined up a very, very, very special guest. Apparently, he's a former network executive, don't you know? So enough talking. Let's get the guests out of the green room. Here we go. So first up, he's the backbone of Sunday night. It is the wonderful. He's on camera too. Matt Cat 83.
What's up, nerds?
Hey, buddy, you all right?
I'm great. I had a great day today. Did
Should we
you?
wait? Yeah, gardening.
Right on. Yeah, I spent
Again?
a lot of time outside also.
Shall we wave to the folks at home? Hello, chat.
Yeah,
I
hey
can see
everybody.
you.
How y'all
Hey.
doing? Look at my beautiful face.
I always ask you, how's your channel going?
Oh, it's going just fine, slowly but surely,
Slow and steady.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
race.
It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Shall we get on with this today? Because there's a lot to get. Shall we? You know what my next question is, don't you?
Bring out that guest. Do it.
Okay, there is good inside our next guest, but we've yet to find it. It is the Dark Sith Lord, Chord.
Hello there.
Hello there. You all right, buddy?
I'm okay, thank you. How is everyone?
I'm doing great.
Not too bad. Not too bad. A little bit sunburnt, but not too bad. Channel going well, my friend?
Channel's going reasonably, thank you. I think the that She-Hulk video has just topped 200,000 views. For like 5 days or whatever it's been.
Yeah, rub it in.
Yeah, the arrogance of the man.
You deserve it, though. It's good.
He does. What you're working on the moment, Lord?
Well, it was going to be House of the Dragon, but I've decided to wait until episode 2 is out and combine them because there's genuinely not enough plot in episode 1, and it just felt a little bit truncated. So lots of people have been nagging me to do She-Hulk again, and so despite having said that I wouldn't, or probably wouldn't, I am apparently a whore for attention. So if they pay me, I will do it. So I've just done the script and the recording for another She-Hulk thing. This probably will be the last one because we've got Rings of Power, and that's going to demand basically all my attention. So She-Hulk first. At some point, I've still got to get this nice positive review of the Stranger Things and How to Save the MCU thing. So that's still on the agenda. But She-Hulk first, House of the Dragon, Rings of Power, that if I have time. That's sort of the slate at the moment.
So, busy boy. So everything going good in Chordland.
Oh, tiring, but worth it, hopefully, in the end.
You can do it. You got youth on your side, my friend. You know what my next question is, don't you?
Yeah, bring out the next body.
Okay. He is the wise elder of the channel. You know the rest. He's the great mega geek himself, Ian David Diaz.
Hello. How you doing, everybody?
Pretty good, you?
Yeah, it's weirding. Is that a word? I'm a bit weird out actually with you two on camera. You two guys.
Oh yeah, hey.
It really is.
What?
Just...
Look how beautiful I am. Look at this.
Yes, he's amazed by the beauty, my natural glow.
If you want to see me, you can always go on Dan's channel. I'm always on there, on camera.
You're beautiful too.
Yeah, thanks, mate.
Everything good then, Ian? Yes.
Yeah, I think so. Things are fine. Let's bring on the special guest, shall we?
Yeah,
yes.
Do it.
Okay. And last, but by no means least, on this channel, we believe in helping the up-and-coming YouTubers. First time on the channel, it is the mighty former network executive. Call me Chato, or is it Chato?
Chato is fine.
Hello, Mr. Chato.
I'm fine.
How are you, sir?
I'm good. Very good. It's a beautiful day here in Burlington, Ontario.
Oh, wow.
Nice, nice day.
You're in Canada?
Yes, one of the colonies.
Oh, wow. Cool. My brother lives in Canada. He lives in Toronto.
Yep. Not it's at 40 minutes down the road from
Oh
us.
wow.
Ooh.
I was
Cool.
born and raised in Toronto. I'm actually a real Torontonian.
I thought you were from LA. That's weird.
Nope.
I did it first. Yeah.
Nope, not a problem. We can talk about LA all you want, but
No. Just saying.
my LA days officially ended in 91.
Okay.
Wow. I would say, Paul, how's the channel going? I think I kind of joined your channel about maybe 3.5 months ago.
It's not doing very well, I hear.
I hear
There's not a lot of people watching.
Well, I mean, there's subscribers versus views,
Right.
and it's funny. I get the odd video that explodes, but I'm chugging along. It's a good percentage. My certainly since February, my subscribers went from 22,000 to over 70,000.
Wow.
Now.
Wow.
And that's really has again, we could talk about YouTube too. I mean, YouTube offers all sorts of lessons. I've been doing it for about 5 years. I was doing mostly a tech channel, and the tech kind of got uninteresting and was very mediocre information, and it was not fun building PCs and Hackintoshes anymore.
Sounds exciting.
And I was doing an awful lot of tech comedy, but unless it's just kind of sophomoric stupid stuff, I didn't really get the appreciation that I wanted for the hard work that I put into writing some, I thought, legitimately good tech stand-up. And then one day I just went, okay, I'm doing this. You know what? I disagree with this person's perspective, because as a former network executive, I'm going to give you what my perspective would have been working behind the scene. And I came up, with the notion where I don't care if your show's good or bad. The only thing that I'm concerned about is whether I get to keep my job. That's really all that was of interest to me when I was a network exec. How do I keep my job? So I've always been following that process of thinking and applying it to the reviews that I've been doing. And some people have agreed and some people have not agreed, but it's a different perspective. And that's what shot the channel sky high, was just having that perspective. Yeah. People appreciate it. It's about branding. People understood the idea very quickly, and it just took off. That's
found
really
your niche, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Or they told me what my niche was.
Yeah. I think I came into your channel about just over 50,000. So you've done quite well.
Yep. It's been great. And again, it's very different from being a 25,000 subscriber platform to a 70,000, and the way people approach you, and then also the opportunities that it gives you, because I can do some more of my silly stuff like I just did. And I get a lot of people who
quite like that.
Yeah, I've got sketches, everything I want to do. So
I think I noticed you on Gary's channel. I think you were on Gary's channel at one point, weren't you? Yeah, I noticed you on there. Yeah. So who's this guy with glasses? And who's this guy? I was like, well, who is he? And then I kind of looked you up, and there you were.
Been on the drink as well.
And thank you for having me on your channel.
The honor is ours, my friend.
So you can ask questions. I'm here to elucidate, confuse everything that I possibly can.
If I may, could I ask a favor, please?
Yeah. What?
Could you say good evening to your number one fan on this channel, Mr. Melvin Deeply?
Melvin Deeply. Sounds like one of those fake names that you give at school to the substitute teacher. Yes. Yeah. So, Rimsky, cut your cock off. Is he here? Rimsky, cut your cock off.
I think he's a lurker in the chat.
So sorry. Okay. Yeah. So name again. What's the name?
It is. I'll put it on screen. Here you go.
Yeah. Melvin Deeply. Melvin Deeply. Hello from Paul Chato of Curb Your Enthusiasm. No, call me Chato. So thank you very much for being a part of this entire adventure.
Yeah, he's been recommending you he's been saying, when you getting Paul on for quite a while now. So
well, I hope I don't disappoint you.
shall we get on with it, guys?
Sure.
Yeah, do it.
Let me
Do
put
it.
the doodah up, the graphic.
Yeah, I kind of look like a combination of names have just completely flown by my Chevy Chase and Larry David with a little bit of John
A
Lithgow
little bit,
thrown
yes.
in.
A little bit, yes. So, episode 88, end of week musings, Sunday, August 28th, 2022. Eye test on the way, folks. We are trying to get to 1,000 subs. Please like, share, subscribe. If you can read that, you do not need to go to Specsavers. You're welcome.
Be there or be dodecahedron. That's what I have to say.
Okay, so we did a deep dive of this yesterday. So we'll kind of just keep it brief-ish. So She-Hulk episode 2.
Right.
This drops obviously this week. Very short episode. As the newbie, Paul, would you like to go first? You quite liked this episode.
No, I didn't quite like it. I have to correct people. So I am both a writer and I still have my network brain cells going. So I have a terrific amount of sympathy, notwithstanding all the history of Disney, notwithstanding all the die stuff and everything else. I still have a very strong place in my heart for people just trying to make stuff. Okay.
Yeah.
So I tend to be sympathetic when they put out something that, if nothing else, pushes the ball a little bit farther down the pitch. Okay. So if they manage to push it down the pitch a little bit, then I'm kind of okay. So I not like the fandom menace that heaps on the entire history of its aborted trailers and what Disney has done to other popular properties. I just completely remove that from my mind when I try to remove it from my mind when I watch each of the shows. So as you know, the things that I'm interested is reasons for a show to for an audience to be interested in the show and watch the next episode. So really, my damning with faint praise on this particular series so far is, have I wanted to watch the next show without having having a bag put on my head and taken to Osama bin Laden's lair and forced to watch it? And the answer is yes. Unlike Strange New Worlds, which was a pain every single time I was reviewing it. That was pretty much the only reason I watched them. This, actually, I have wanted to watch each episode as me, Paul Chato, as a human being. That has caused me untold amount of grief and hate online. But that's my opinion. And so again, as a writer, I have outlined in several videos that their writing is crude and uninteresting and really not based on any of the things that I use for writing, like using subtext, defending your ego at all cost, they've created a very lazy environment in this new law firm. They've made, is her environment funny, or is she funny? Like, you got to pick one. And so I've written about all that stuff as someone who deeply loves sitcom, although this is not a sitcom. It's kind of like Ally McBeal, which was a very well done show. So,
is the program funny?
And I don't think it's meant to be funny.
Right.
I think it's meant to be interesting. And again, in that Ally McBeal kind of way. Ally McBeal was not a funny show.
But its genre piece, which they explicitly stated, was legal comedy. I sort of naively perhaps assume that comedies might tell jokes occasionally.
Well, it's not funny like what was that British medical show that was extremely well done?
Green Wing?
No. It's like a bunch of new doctors. It started off with, I can't remember, and it had the guy who was head of the training hospital was this very gray.
This Is Going to Hurt?
No. Anyway, farther back than that.
No.
I'm old. We'll figure it out. Anyway, so my point is that
not Doctor at Large.
Only when I laugh.
Yeah, Doctor at Large.
Wow, that is going back early
Thank you.
70s. Wow.
So that was extremely well done, extremely well written, and it was also written by, I think, a doctor. And so, this particular show, my biggest complaint about this show is that with all the resources available to Disney Marvel, this could have been way better. That's my big complaint.
I know, same here, mate. Same here.
Why am I damning this show with faint praise? It's so that's my biggest complaint about the show. But I like Tatiana. She's a Canadian actress, and Orphan Black was her show.
Black was amazing.
She was very good. So I'm giving her a long leash. So sue me.
We've said, I've said, we wanted this to be genuinely good because it could have been the perfect antidote to all the dross that we've had from Marvel of late.
I mean, you've been saying it. I haven't.
Well, I think if there was one, the actor could, Tatiana could have pulled it off, and
they've made her very unpleasant.
Yeah.
And I objected. I would have written this completely differently.
I think everyone would have.
Yeah. But the point is that for me, I didn't see the point in the Obi-Wan series. I went, wow, this is just plain horrible. I couldn't even think of how I would rewrite this.
Not in its current form. No,
not in this current form. But this show, to me, has got a terrific premise. It's fun. The premise is fun.
Yeah.
And they just have not been able to, get all cylinders going.
Yeah.
So, you know what? I liked it. I think I put that in my title just to get at the internet,
just to get people to watch.
Yeah, just, although that's one of my lowest rated videos, is because I liked it.
It happens.
It could have been so good. So far,
I know it's just disappointing.
Could have been so good, and even that, I don't want to monopolize the time, but the dialogue between Hulk and She-Hulk when they were at his compound in Mexico, it was all on the nose, as opposed to just they're related. It should have been a sibling. They should have been talking about the lack of cheese. It should have been personal related stuff that bugged them about each other that had nothing to do with their superpowers. Yeah. That would have been funny. Play against what was going on. It's just that writers are just not capable of doing that kind of keeping up appearances kind of dialogue, right? Which was a brilliant show.
Yep.
They can't do that. They can't do a keeping up appearances.
Well, are they allowed to? But Ian, thoughts?
Brief thoughts.
For the benefit of Paul.
Show.
No, I want to hear.
It's rubbish. The whole look. Every Disney show so far, or Disney Marvel so far, it's been absolute nonsense. Was it poisoned with agenda right across the board? I have no time for these shows anymore. I only watched it because Ian told me to watch the second episode. And I didn't want to watch the second. The first episode was enough for me. It was absolute nonsense. The people they've hired to write this stuff don't know how to write themselves out of a paper bag. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's a waste of everyone's time. As you said, it could be so much better. It could the writing could be so much better. But they've hired, the people that they've hired is writing, and they're all kind of, as far as I can see, they're all men haters for some reason. I don't know why. Without men, we won't have people. Let's put it that way. Without women, we won't have people, will we? Together, we won't have people. So I don't know why they keep slamming men.
And they do it childishly. I'm not against slamming men. Just get good jokes. It's so crude. So, for instance, one point in the second show, I don't know if you saw it, as she was walking through the new law office, the camera panned a huge boardroom filled with 60-year-old white men in suits laughing amongst each other. And that picture was, whoa, look at all those white men in that room. We're going to make fun of them. It's so crude and childish. Like, I don't get it. Anyway,
they've hired people that have no experience in writing screenplays, so or any TV. So
or life
what did anyone
experience.
expect? What did anyone expect it to?
Okay.
They've been doing that with Loki as well. Loki's absolute nonsense. The whole of that premise, absolutely. And again, it's they're playing the agenda, and that's basically what I don't even watch these shows. What is it? What's that one called? The Star Trek one?
Strange New Worlds.
Strange New Worlds. I don't watch it because if I watch it, I'm endorsing the others. Like what is it?
Discovery.
Card and Discovery. I'll be endorsing them. Why would I want to endorse them? I don't believe any of this stuff is Star Trek at all. And I don't care. I don't have a YouTube channel using this for my benefit or making money and stuff. And if you are, God bless you and all that. If I don't like something, I just don't watch it, And I tell everyone it's rubbish, but it's up to them whether they want to watch it or not. But
other than those points, Ian, you're really into She-Hulk, yes?
Yeah. Well,
Moving on. Matty, thoughts?
I mean, it's not very good. I'm going to watch it because I have a YouTube channel and I want to cover it. So,
God bless you.
But it's so far, it's not even like one of those things where I feel like it's appointment TV every what is it, Thursday or whatever.
I agree with you. Yes.
I'm like, I got to wake up and watch this now. So I just wake up, I watch it. It's a slog to get through. And then when I'm done, I'm like, well, that wasn't very good. But yeah, you're right. I keep saying it's She-Hulk, the Man Haters Club. But I don't know. I'm gonna watch it, and if it's good in the end, which it won't be, I'll admit it is. And but I just don't. It's not very good. It's not very good.
There are some good shows out there though, like you said, Appointment TV. When I saw the first episode of Reacher, the Amazon version.
Yeah.
That to me, I was like, I'm watching the next episode.
Yeah, that's a great show.
That was a really good show. Yeah, so they can do them. It's just hire the right people.
Which that show, which I've read those books, and they did very good going from book to screen. And She-Hulk, and we had talked about it last night, but She-Hulk, there's some really good and funny, in the comic books, some really funny stuff that they could have just taken it off the page. And they did take some stuff, but they just didn't do it the same way. And it's not good. If they would have like literally just went from page to screen, it would have been way better, and it would have been funny. It would have been funny. So I just don't.
You said, Matt, what you said last night was, the actual character of She-Hulk. She's basically, she drinks a lot. She's like, what is it? Photocopies her ass and stuff like that.
Yeah,
almost gets fired and stuff. That sounds like a character I'd like to invest in.
Yeah,
if it was in the TV show. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The comic book was pretty good. I can't remember the writer's name that did it before Paul Dano, and Paul Dano did a pretty good job. But it's a way better character. The story is better, and I mean, like, I just don't understand why they didn't try to copy that more.
Because they wanted her to be perfect. As every female character, perfect.
But I see, but that's the thing. I think flawed characters are the best characters because I can relate to them a lot better. This woman, I can't relate to her. I'm so sorry you live in this fancy apartment that your living room was the size of the first place I lived in, and you got fired from your lawyer job where you were making six figures. Oh, you poor soul! Oh, you didn't save 6 months worth of your six digit salary in case you got fired. I'm like, you poor thing.
In the chat, Melvin Deeply, sorry, Matt.
No, you're good.
I thought episode 1 was harmless fun. I was mildly entertained. These days, that's a win. Episode 2 couldn't maintain harmless fun for me. I'm not even disappointed. I'd expected it to be worse.
As Han Solo says, it's worse. So there you go.
Yeah, and then hello Mephisto. It's because we have a generation of kidults. Their minds are still at the level of the playground.
I actually thought that she had more flaws than a lot of other female characters that Disney, Marvel Star Wars have thrown at us. I mean, she got when she went from She-Hulk down to not She-Hulk during the firing sequence in when she got fired. Suddenly she got drunk and she fell off the stool. There was in the second show there was way more fallibility in her performance and who she was, but it bounced around. Like I said in my review, they couldn't really figure out.
But there was no consequences to her. That's what I'm saying, and that's why it doesn't work.
Right? Yeah, there should be consequences in your actions, and I'm not a big fan of episodes where the thing revolves around other people creating the story for the lead. I always prefer when the lead does something that creates a result that gets them into trouble and then they have to fix it.
Yep.
That's way more interesting story. So yeah, it's again, these writers are bad.
Lord, would you like to give us your opinion? And then
Can you sing it for us, Lord, please?
Yeah, go on, Lord.
Everything has been said, but not everyone has said it yet. No, I'm going to go back to the analogy that was raised near the beginning. The does it or does it not deserve credit for at least moving the ball down the field? I don't think if it turns out you've been moving the ball down your field past your own defenders and into your own goal, you deserve praise for that.
Brilliant.
Moreover, I don't think it's a particularly good idea to say, well, for example, this had so much potential and it should be praised for its potential, though it failed to achieve that potential. To do it justice, it should at least be praised for its potential. To carry the sports metaphor on, if you assemble the greatest football team that has ever existed, and then you promptly have them uncoached, unmanaged, losing to Brentford, to use a Manchester United example. Nice. Again, I don't think you deserve. I don't think you deserve praise for assembling a great team with great potential and then having them fail to. That, if anything, that's more damning than if you'd assembled a shit team with no potential and just had them achieve the bare minimum. She-Hulk is. It's a show. It fundamentally doesn't need to exist, but on the point of the writers and the way in which they've handled themselves, you've got a team that's very inexperienced. So you've got interviews with Jessica Gao, who has severally said across several different interviews, A, we didn't know how to write legal comedies. And then more recently, B, we didn't know how to write a show with CGI. And then C, we didn't know how to manage the budget for the CGI because Kevin Feige wasn't telling us what to do.
Comedy.
Or then, well, that's just evidentially they don't know how to run with comedy. You've got a very inexperienced team of writers, but the most really, I think, damning thing about the writers is how remarkably insular and self-absorbed and narcissistic and incurious they are, and apparently proud of all of these things. So you have a show which is filled with characters who are self-inserts on the part of the writers. Everyone they mix with is part of the same milieu as the writers mix with in real life. There's absolutely no understanding of what consequence should be. So when Jen gets fired, the next shot sees her in her very swanky apartment suffering no material consequence whatsoever. And as has been pointed out, because they didn't go with the comics backstory, you can't even say that this was as a result of personal fault or foible, because there's nothing she did is creating the situation for her. So you can't say, well, okay, she might still be rich, but we've just revealed her to be an alcoholic who really needs to overcome her own personal difficulties. You can't say that. You can't say, well, she's not an alcoholic, but at least she's suffering material hardship, because she isn't. There's no reason to invest in this story or in this character. It just exists as a reason to peddle the occasional part of sort of a socio-political message, which betrays a very, very narcissistic outlook when, for example, she attacks Bruce and says she handles her anger better than he does, or in the last episode where she sits there and says, well, of course she wouldn't go and join the Avengers because they won't give her healthcare or a pension or maternity leave. Completely missing the point that the only reason you can enjoy those benefits is because those Avengers sacrificed themselves and sacrificed their right to those entitlements to enable you to live such a comfortable, happy existence. The only way they can save it, as I've said in my previous videos, I'm going to say again in the next one, you have to make her realize these things. You actually have to lower her. You have to present her with a challenge that really does knock her down. But the writers have shown absolutely no evidence that they understand what that challenge would be or why it would matter or indeed why they need to do that. So I'm not optimistic or encouraged about the way it's going. I think it's a tremendous waste of time. It's a waste of talent. It's a waste of money.
And do you know what? I said exactly the same thing, but he said it better.
Yeah.
And longer as well.
And longer.
And again, that's my point with regards to the amount of resources available to Marvel Disney, the hundreds of millions of dollars. They couldn't have gotten Aaron Sorkin in to just do a script cleanup or something. And that is partly due because I know some of the hierarchy of Disney is that there's people in the background that want to control the writers. So as much as Gao is the front person, she's actually protecting a whole bunch of harpies in the background.
Is she the puppet then? Is she
Yes.
kind of like the puppet? Right?
Yeah, this is really the corporate message that they want to convey. I mean, the show basically came to a halt when they changed the origin story. So if Bruce Banner had actually made the conscious decision to give the transfusion to his niece, cousin, and that caused her to be She-Hulk. And then if in the courtroom she becomes She-Hulk and then she loses her job, the first thing I would have had her do was phone Bruce and say, "You piece of shit, you lost me my job." But because they didn't even set up the dominoes properly to start the process of personal, not intervention. Anyways, one of you guys can talk on my behalf. That they just ruined it from the beginning. They just couldn't start an interesting, dramatic thread. What I call the Powerball. When you're writing something, you want to transfer this ball of power from one character to the other, back and forth and back and forth. And by not having that linchpin at the very beginning, they kind of blew it for themselves.
They did.
I think we will move on.
That's
I think
it.
we've spent far too much.
I'm still interested in watching episode 3. But
yes, I'll be watching it. I don't think I'll be reviewing it, but famous last words.
Not me. Bye.
That's pretty good. But Little Platoon, you got like 200,000 views on your view of that. Very good.
I know that's going nicely. The last 4 or 5 have gone over 100, but it's sort of a double-edged sword because on the one hand it's gone really well, but on the other hand I really want to get rid of this series, and I've got people in my comments saying, "Please come back to do the next one."
Never mind.
Ride the wave, man. Ride the wave.
And remember, Platoon, if you can say it, you can sing it.
Exactly. You should be singing.
I'll do a musical number one day.
Okay. So the main thing that kind of dropped this week was House of the Dragon, HBO.
I love this show.
Do you want to go first, then, Matty?
Yeah, it's so good. It's so good. I think Lord Cord said it last night, but this show is the book is not in. Oh no, it was Brian. It's not exactly like reading the Lord of the Rings. No, it was Lord Cord that said it.
Yeah,
it's very different. It's like reading the Silmarillion compared to the Lord of the Rings. But it's still good. I love this show. I thought it was very good. I cannot wait until tonight when the episode airs. I'm really excited. Yeah, I'm really excited for it. So I'm going to be staying up and watching them with my wife and everything. So it's going to be a good time.
Lord?
Yeah, well, we had this out, didn't we? I think on the stream when we did it. I think it really depends with this show. If you've got intimate familiarity with the books, you're going to enjoy it much more immediately. If you have passing familiarity, you will get on with it. And if you don't know anything about the books or the world, you're going to struggle much more to get into it because this isn't a show for beginners to the franchise. Unlike the first episode of Game of Thrones, where you're introduced to the world via novice characters in new situations. This one throws you straight into the middle where everybody knows each other already. There are no first impressions we get to witness. Everybody knows that much more than we do, so there's no novice character we can really see through and come to know the relationships, the power dynamics, and all the rest of it. I think that makes it much more difficult even for a casual viewer to get into. But on the other hand, it's a show that doesn't think the audience is stupid, so it does actually believe we are capable of applying ourselves to understand what's going on. I like the fact that the show has a high opinion of its audience because most shows don't. We've just been talking about She-Hulk after all. So that's a start. I was not bowled over by it. I was intrigued enough to want to watch the next episode, but I found that there wasn't enough in it in terms of plot for me to actually string a really. I could do a short. I've done sort of a short review of episode 1, but the vast majority of this isn't plot. It's plotting, and that's a very, very different thing. It's the difference between setting up a game of chess and playing a game of chess. This first episode was all about putting people in the positions they need to be in for the plot then to happen, much less to do with actually making the plot itself happen, I thought. So that you can condense the plot into 3 very small events and the rest of it is intrigue, it's moving around, it's setting up for the future. I hope it carries it through. I know it's just been renewed. And it will be interesting to see how they take its storytelling format forward, because they didn't know they were going to get a second season when they launched it. So whether or not they've tried to truncate the story but get it finished in one season, so the next one will be a spin-off, or whether they are actually going to continue a longer story and take more time as opposed to rushing into the lore and the world building, will be interesting to watch. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm even optimistic about it. I'm just intrigued, which is kind of the basis of any Game of Thrones show.
Headshots, hello, Headshot. He loves this show.
Yeah, and you made a great point with people that don't read the books or haven't read the books, because my wife did not read the book, and she the whole time she's like, all right, who's that? And I was like, oh well, this is so and so and everything, and she kept asking me like, well, who's that and everything. I was like, all right, this is gonna be a long episode if you keep asking me. I was like, let's just watch, and then you can ask me when we're done. But yeah,
I've actually got that in the script that I've done for episode 1. It's this little challenge for the audience at the end. Just list list any number of characters that you can remember having been introduced, and then compare it to the actual list of characters introduced. Because I would guarantee no one who isn't already familiar with the books can remember more than half the characters they introduced in this episode.
Yeah, it's a very good point.
I think there's a few peeps in the chat who have been they got burnt by the other series. Time Prophet. I refuse to watch House of the Dragon. Yeah, Game of Thrones.
And I can totally get that, people not wanting to watch this show because Game of Thrones ended so badly. Yeah. So I totally get that. But I mean, like I like this whole little world and everything. So I'm in for it. And I have HBO, so I'm in. So
Ian, you watched this, but you're like me, it's not your bag, is it?
No, it's not my kind of thing. I mean, as I said before, I was invited to the first screening with the stars and producers and all that in BAFTA a long time ago, and I did go through season 1 and 2, but I just kind of lost interest in it completely and never ever went back. So I saw the first episode of House of Dragon. Don't know what the hell's going on.
Yes,
I thought it was really nice. Looked nice. It looked nice. Doctor Who was in it.
Yeah.
And a girl that looked like she was 8 or something like that seems to be quite strong. And that's about it, really. It was okay. It was just I just won't be watching any more of it because it's not my bag, as you would put it, Ian.
Yeah. Paul, did you watch this?
I did not, but I have an interesting question for the panel.
Which is?
Do it.
Which is, again, this is my network hat on. I'm intrigued by the launch of this. And considering the bad blood that it concluded with.
Season 8, yes.
Season 8. Which I didn't see season 8. Everyone said, don't watch it, Paul, don't bother. I am fascinated by how quickly this got into gear, got goodwill, and kind of nailed the jump off the ski jump.
Yeah.
It didn't have much in the way of pre-publicity. There weren't actors imploding about being representative. And you see all this Disney product, Marvel product, stumbling mightily into an abyss. How do you think they pulled this off? Was this the right strategy to kind of keep it quiet, don't talk about it too much, and just unleash it? So that's my question.
Matty,
I think their strategy is basically the fans of the original series, and even though the last series went to hell, basically, I think they do believe that there's still a lot of fans that want more. So I think that was their strategy. Plus over here, Matt Smith is quite big. They got him, so over in England, there probably people watch it because of Matt Smith. And I think that's the strategy that they use. Yeah, you're right. We didn't hear anything about this at all. There was no publicity or anything. Well, as far as I can see, there was no publicity and stuff like that. But I think they were just judging. They were just hoping that the fans from this series will come and watch this. That's what I think. I don't know if I'm right.
No, I think that you are right. I mean, like, for instance, the Matt Smith thing. I have a niece that loves Matt Smith. She thinks he's the hottest guy on the planet. So that's why she's watching this show.
Good actor.
Yeah, he's good. He's good. And then I think also, even though season 8 was bad, I think that the fact that Martin was more involved in this show. I mean, he was involved in Game of Thrones the first 4 seasons, and then they had a falling out and everything. So And I think after season 4 is when it started to go downhill, especially after the 5th season when they didn't have any more books to fall back on. But, you know, as somebody that read this book and again loves this world, I mean, I was all in as a fan. And then you get normies like my wife, who is not a fan, but she didn't mind the end of season 8 because she didn't read the books. And she's all like, you know, I don't know what's going on in this little world. I just know what I see on screen. So, yeah, I think that it's a combination of all those things plus, I mean, I think they really pushed this in terms of marketing because I saw this everywhere.
Oh, really?
And yeah, and I think it's, and I don't know if you guys saw the video on Twitter or social media, wherever, but somebody filmed a building in New York, and there were so many windows where the lights were all flashing at the same time because they were all watching House of the Dragon episode 1. Wow. And I was just like, that screams volumes in terms of like.
I was confused over this and the other one because I kept getting them mixed up. You know, the other one with Lenny Henry as a 6-foot dwarf.
Oh, Rings of Power, the slightly less
so I was like, Game of Thrones. I'd see advertisements for that one, thinking it was House of Dragon, and then see House of Dragon, thinking it was that one. So it's like. It was totally confusing for me.
I think it's only going to get more confusing when Rings of Power actually debuts as a cheaper version of Game of Thrones.
I was going to say, I think the House of Dragon's secret weapon is Rings of Power because everybody knows how bad it is.
Yeah, it's partly that. I mean, it sort of goes back to that point about publicity. So, I mean, some of us, I haven't seen a huge amount of publicity for it over here.
For which one?
For House of the Dragon, sorry.
Okay.
Really?
Yeah, not a huge amount. When I don't know if this is the case in America as well. Whenever I have seen publicity, it's very rarely been any more than the image we've got on screen at the moment. House of the Dragon is very, very minimalistic. Very few cast interviews. The only times it's gone wrong publicity-wise is when they have done cast interviews, because there was the one race-swapped character who said, "Oh, y'all are all just angry because now you get to see black people not being pirates and criminals." I think that was threatening to undermine it.
What are they talking about? What about Shaft?
Well, it was a mistake anyway, because Game of Thrones is a wonderfully diverse series and handles diversity very well. So it was a stupid comment, but that was the point being. There haven't been very many interviews, I've seen at least, where they've given the actors an opportunity to be stupid like that. They've really kept it quite minimalist in terms of the marketing that they've put out, much like the thing on screen. That might have helped, because what it's doing is it's trading on the reputation, it's trading on the world, and it's not trading on the genius of the people who are cast in it, or the directors or the writers saying, we want this show to represent X, Y, Z. They've kept them quite wisely silent, unlike Rings of Power, which is a really useful sort of comparison piece. Mm-hmm. And as a result, it's not built up a huge amount of ill will. People still fondly remember how good Game of Thrones used to be. Season 8 was a massive aberration, but I think people understood that Season 8 was an aberration and not an inevitable thing. If you actually had the source material, if they wrote it, and if they scripted it in the way they had the previous seasons, it would have been just as good. And this having source material to rely on again, well, maybe it won't be as catastrophically silly as Season 8 was. So there's a few things that they've played, I think, quite well, and minimalism in marketing is probably one of them.
In the chat, Glenn Q, hello Glenn. After all the good reviews, I was tempted to watch, but then I remembered the finale and decided against it. Even if the first few seasons are good, I would still expect to be shafted later on.
I don't think that they would do, because like the thing about this one is we all know where it's going to end. Like the thing with Game of Thrones is there was no ending, established. With this one, I can tell you what's going to happen. It's just, there's the little intricacies that are not in the book, because the book is not written like, a regular novel. So I think that, we know who's going to die and who's going to live. Unlike Game of Thrones, after that 5th season, it was all, anybody's, game, to say what was going to happen and stuff, because there was nothing to fall back on. So I don't know if the finale will be like Game of Thrones, in that respect.
Well, we know that the House of Targaryen has to fall.
Yeah, I don't think it'll happen well, maybe it'll happen in this show. I don't know. We'll see. Or
maybe the second season or something. They're just going to spread it out.
Yeah.
Because
I don't want to ruin anything.
And interesting to watch because they're doing massive time skips. I think one of the time skips in season 1 is about a decade long. and how whether it's even going back to that point of sort of Silmarillion versus Lord of the Rings, whether they're even going to attempt to tell what like a traditional character-driven story. It's not the impression you get from the first episode, or whether they really are going to do it like a series of loosely connected episodic sort of mythology, a legendarium style show as opposed to a story, and whether that sort of holds the attention of people in the way that a plot-driven show like Game of Thrones did. I mean, will this show, it could be handled so much better all the way through than Game of Thrones, but by virtue of not being quite so character-focused and quite so, I guess you could say, endearing in places, whether it stays in people's minds, whether people develop a love for it in the same way as they did with Game of Thrones, I think will be an interesting one to watch.
In the chat, says, this is at you, Paul, us plebs are starving, desperate for bread. And what's that? And circuses?
Bread and circuses.
Yeah. And all there has been is shite sandwiches. Anything will do. Also, Rangs of Power has taken a lot of the negative heat this might have got.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, they also, I think, strategically wanted to get this show out before Rangs of Power came out.
Rangs.
That was something I think that was strategic. They were doing this on purpose. To me, I am fascinated by the YouTube ecosystem, and because I come from broadcast network and how tightly controlled things could be. And I put it to you that a lot of stuff that we think is shite right now, if those were presented individually on network television as just shows, I don't think people would have connected the dots as to man hate and all these things, the diversity, equity, inclusion bullshit. I don't think we would have connected those dots back then, and certainly none of the, because we didn't have the we didn't have rage warriors sussing this out, and some people are making bank on being rage warriors here on YouTube, and bless their hearts. So it's a very different world, and I'm to me, I'm constantly thinking about how these things interconnect and work. And again, Rings of Power, we don't know what the result is going to be until it airs.
No, that's the thing. I mean, I find the Rage Warrior thing is they are slightly irritating, I think, because people always forget the normie consideration. And the normie consideration is that however mad you are about it on YouTube, the odds are the vast majority of the people watching it will not be seeing what you're seeing, and they won't be watching your channel, and they won't pick up on the points you picked up on.
No, well,
even if, like, Rings of Power, for example, take Rings of Power. Let's say Rings of Power rightly pisses off an awful lot of people because the way in which they've introduced the lore, the way in which they've injected politics, the way in which they're using the branding of Tolkien to tell a new, I say a new story, to a derivative story that has very little to do with the actual lore. That's going to annoy very, very Tolkien, like big Tolkien fans. That will annoy rage people on YouTube, and that will annoy another few smaller audiences. But if it's just like an averagely decent watch for normies, it will do a reasonable job in terms of returns. The problem with Amazon is that, of course, they've banked so much money on it, it has to be more than reasonable. But
well, I'm curious to see what the Venn diagram is for that show. So you've got one group of people who are into fantasy that are also LOTR fans. You've got maybe another circle that are Twilight fans. And then you've got this mystery circle down at the bottom. So
listen, everyone,
pardon me?
Sorry, everyone subconsciously knows when something is bad. It's just that the normies can't put their finger on it. That's the thing. You look, the shows that are bad, people know it's bad, but they can't figure out why it's bad.
Twilight was horrible. Twilight was wretched, but it was hugely popular.
It was hugely popular with the people that read the novels. And,
right. So what if one of the lobes of this Venn diagram are the Twilight crowd that will love this?
Yeah, but the Twilight crowd, right? So I went to see Twilight, and it's not my cup of tea, but it was competently made, and you can see why people liked it. You can see why young girls liked it and stuff like that. This is different. Stuff that has an agenda in it is very, very different. Audience can sense it, like the normies can sense it, but they can't figure out why they have this subconscious thing inside them that they really think it's just okay. Do you know what I mean?
Is this going to be the series that finally wakes up the people, do you think?
I don't think so. I don't think there's a lot of normies out there.
Right. Have we not reached that stage yet?
It happens selectively. I don't think that there will never be this mass awakening movement. I mean, Star Wars fans went through it with The Last Jedi, though we have always to remember that film still pleased, or at least satisfied, more than half the people who went to see it, though you wouldn't get that from watching YouTube reviewers. The Lord of the Rings is about to have its moment. Star Trek has already had its moment. It's just another moment. It's another fan base. It's the bifurcation, like the balkanization of the audience. Maybe is a better way of putting it. You're just going to get a series like Rings of Power, which will please a large body of normies and really, really piss off a smaller but significant body of the audience as well.
Matty, do you want to read this comment from Marlin, please? You're muted.
Sorry, I cleared my throat earlier. It says Rings of Power is fan fiction. It's Lord of the Rings in name only.
Right, but that is not an impediment to its success.
Right. I just want go ahead. No, you go.
This as a network dude, please hate me, but if I'm the executive in charge of production of this, I don't care if the LOTR like I think it's a drag. And I talked with the producers. Why are you abandoning the LOTR fans? Please tell me what your business case is and tell me what are the other lobes of your Venn diagram. If you can get those other lobes and guarantee it, then I don't give a fuck about the LOTR group. I'm still going to keep my job.
I understand that. Yeah. But I also ask who is this for though? Is it for Lord of the Rings fans? Because
no.
Because if it's not, then why would you make this? Because I'm sorry, but like how girls that were into Twilight are not into medieval fantasy.
I'm just using that as an example. The people who are producing this show hate us.
Right. And
hate Lord of the Ring fans. They're going to show us up. That is the premise of the show.
They hate the customers.
Well,
and they hate the customers, the existing potential customers for them.
That's not a good business model.
No, but they feel that there's another group of people out there. That is what we don't know.
Yeah, so the vast majority of people who watched and loved Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings trilogy were not Tolkien scholars. They'd never read, most of them probably hadn't ever read the books. And this one, of course, is based on it's supposed to be set around the same time period as the Silmarillion, which very, very few people have read. And I've actually started rereading it in preparation for this series to see where they've gone wrong. But they're banking on it's brand recognition. This is the Lord of the Rings. Everyone remembers how everyone loved the Lord of the Rings. It's a massive brand. It's Amazon's behind it. That's another massive brand. They've put loads of money in. They've got some big people in it. That's all you need to get normies' attentions. And actually, you can say, and as I probably will be doing when I review it, like this is really, really offensive to the lore, and it's disgracing what Tolkien did. Doesn't change the fact that most people actually will probably be satisfied with it. It's a very lush-looking fantasy adventure.
In the chats, Andy Mouse 123. Hello, Andy. I hate you, Chato. and then here we go.
I'll meet you in the back alley. I'll give you a Glaswegian handshake.
Bolts of trivia. I love you, Chato.
See, the thing is, where I stand, right? I don't care about the normies or anything. All I know is what I will do is not watch it if I find something offensive, or if I find the show not to be of the quality or true to its nature. I just won't watch it. That's it. And for me,
are you curious?
Sorry, curious about
curious?
What? About what?
About the first episode
of what?
Of Rings of Power.
No, because I don't. It's not my bag. This kind of
He's like
stuff.
me.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not.
No,
I'm not
not
really
interested.
curious at all. I mean, I'm a huge Star Trek fan, and quite frankly, I will not watch anything beyond this point of Star Trek because it's an insult to me. I don't care about everybody else. I just don't watch it. Yeah.
One question before we move on. MC says MC always asks the deep questions. Who's Chato?
He's that guy up there.
That's an existential question.
Okay. So House of the Dragon renewed as well.
Yeah, it's excellent.
This is our kind of what we should be watching.
But this has been out for ages, isn't this one?
It's it's fourth season.
Right.
Yeah, I've never seen this show before.
I saw the first 3 episodes, and that was enough for me.
Yeah, same here. I bailed. I just thought, but
if people like it, that's great.
People in the know seem to be. Well, they keep banging on about just how good this is at the moment. It's sci-fi as it should be. So I kind of get the feeling that probably we should need to have another look at it. Anybody seen it? Paul, have you seen it?
I haven't seen the recent ones. And I felt the same way too. It was kind of clunky at the very beginning.
Yeah.
And I kind of bailed. But people have been saying marvelous things about it. How does it last for 4 seasons? Of course, Apple needs product. There's a reason.
Yeah. Definitely.
And once you've got a show in production and you've got all the contracts, it's quite reasonably inexpensive to keep making a show. That's one of the reasons why shows like Batgirl or Batwoman or whatever on the CW was not canceled. People ask me, well, why wasn't that canceled? It's because it's cheaper to keep making a show that they've already got the machinery in place than it is to start a show from scratch.
I think we shouldn't overlook as well the fact that Batwoman was an artistic masterpiece.
I need to get that the way you said that. I need to go to understand that Batwoman.
You haven't heard him sing yet, mate.
I like that. I wanted to scratch my back.
In the chat, Franco asks, "Hello, Franco. Where is it on? It's on Apple TV and the high seas."
Yeah, the high seas.
Okay, so I kind of get the feeling if Robert
nice poster though.
Yeah,
love the poster.
Obviously, the premise of this is alternative timeline. If the
Russians got there first,
got to the moon,
like the Man in High Castle. It's kind of like that, really, isn't it? As an alternative timeline.
Apparently, there's a lot of kind of a homage to Space 1999 as well. So,
which I never liked.
What?
did the moon move out of orbit in 1999?
See, as a writer, I don't like when the main characters don't have agency. They didn't control. They had no. It was not their fault that the moon was blown out of the Earth's orbit, and then suddenly they're put on in adventures against their will. I'm not a fan of that style of writing.
I didn't like it because they were wearing flares. So there you go. So there's a reason why.
I loved it because I was about 7. But anyway, okay.
Saturday mornings, mate. Saturday mornings.
Brilliant. Okay, so For All Mankind, apparently we should check it out. And before we move on,
well, I've got all you Brits online. I want to know what do you guys over there think of Ted Lasso? Speaking of Apple TV,
I really like it. I really like it. I think it's very funny, and I think it's very interesting how they injected the American into the British, as you guys would call it, soccer. Snake. I don't like sports, full stop, but I find it very funny, and I find it characters very interesting. So there you go.
There you go. I was curious whether you found it intriguing or not.
I did. Okay, I'm still watching it.
One question before we move on. Time Prophet at Mr. Brown Alliance, that's me. Explain in Space 1999 how the moon suddenly slowed down with no external force.
It was Emperor Ming that did it. So there you
go. Okay, moving on. I can't.
Martin Landau is one really exciting adventure.
Yeah. He's a good actor, though.
He's a very good actor.
Yeah, he's a great actor.
And then the gray-haired guy who was in it, the old gray hair, was actually
Indian. They got rid of him. Season 1, they got rid of him, didn't they? I think he was only in season 1, wasn't he?
Oh, yeah.
And then they got rid of him, yeah.
Victor Bergman. Okay.
That's the fella.
Lord Cord's News Round.
Yay.
I swear
he doesn't look like that, by the way, guys.
If you ever do merch, Lord, you need to put that on a shirt. I'll buy 2. I swear to God, I'll buy 2.
I'll make it into like a plush.
I'll design it for you, mate.
Oh my God, please. Anything you do with that picture, I will buy some. It's great. I love that picture so much because it doesn't even look like you. It's so funny, but at the same time, it looks like you. It's so funny. Makes me laugh every time.
Andy Mouse says, Lord's for Moving on. Okay, so the big TV.
I'll tell you one good thing about this show is that when Game of Thrones was on at the same time as they were also shooting Downton Abbey, there was not a single decent British actor left to be on anybody else's.
Yeah.
I actually wrote a sketch on it where someone was trying to, get a Brit on their on their sitcom or whatever they were producing, and they just got the janitors and scullery maids, and that's all that was remaining in the UK. They had nothing left.
Yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
Funny.
Such
That's
a huge hit.
problem
That show.
here.
Such a huge hit. I've never seen an episode of it at all, but
Of what?
I know a lot of people really love it for some
Yeah,
reason.
my wife
Abbey.
loves that. My wife loves that show.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Downtown Abbey, as I call it. Yeah,
That's the black version.
yeah, exactly.
Okay, so I know Paul is into his TV guides, especially
yes.
the retro ones. This is the current one that dropped. Was it this week?
Yep.
And obviously
What I'm
the
doing next.
There you go.
1974.
yeah.
Yep. What do you think?
That black guy doesn't look like he's from the hood, does he?
Yeah, he's they managed to get Don Lemon in from CNN to take a role in this show. So
That's what I hear.
That's him.
Right.
So you've got Don Lemon, you've got I guess that's Brienne of Tarth's younger sister, and you've got young Ned Stark as well in the new Game of Thrones spin-off Rings of Power that's coming out at the end of this month.
Am I the only one that thinks that
No.
these two guys look gay for some reason? I mean, no disrespect to you, Lord, but do you think that when you look at these pictures here?
I think they're all three look gay.
Okay, well, racist
They do
was my
actually,
case.
yeah. Now that you say it. Although in the chat disagrees. Oh my God, look at those wankers.
There you go. There you go.
Well, they've got their serious face on.
Yeah, they have. They've
Right
got
on,
some kind
yeah.
of face on. put it
Oh
that
my!
way.
I love the marketing for this show. Did you see their Young and the Restless opening thing where they're all like turning towards
Oh,
the camera?
yes.
Oh, it was beautiful. I was like, "What the hell is this?" I was like, "I think this is where Jared Leto's masculinity went." I'm like, "This is ridiculous."
I know, it's really crazy, isn't it? What they do and stuff these days. But I
didn't
won't be
even know
watching
they were
this.
printing TV guides anymore.
I think they still do.
That's
Oh,
what
is
I
this
heard.
online? Oh.
That's a bummer.
My last printed TV guide is 2000.
Oh, they stopped printing it?
No, apparently they haven't. But the last one I have is the year 2. I've got them all the way from 1970.
Right on.
No, right.
MC
Well,
in the
our
chat,
version is Radio
T-
Times
or
over
TV
here.
Times.
Or TV Times, yeah.
Oh, that's right. I heard the TV Times.
MC Mega Geeks Gay Dies working overtime.
Oh dear. Oh dear.
When I was in Hollywood, I was dragged into the office of a straight mogul, and he would often bring the casting director and put in VHS tapes and just ask, is that person gay? Is she gay? That, like, it was a game that he played. He wanted to know
Wow.
who out there in Hollywood was gay.
Well, in the 80s, when I used to go out for jobs in the BBC, they were all gay. All of them. So
Well,
there you go.
Isn't everyone in the UK gay? I mean,
I think so. I think so now. I'm even thinking of converting. So there you go.
over here, whenever we heard someone speaking like this, we would
It might unironically be one of the great achievements of She-Hulk is that it makes women seem so unattractive.
It does,
I
yeah.
get more people over onto my side of the
Okay,
was Frankie Howard gay?
No. Well, I guess he was. I don't know.
Titty
I don't
knots. Titty knots.
Hello?
Okay, so depending on what side of the fence you're sat on, obviously the media is pushing this.
Of course they are.
So on one side you've got, for example, Variety, just saying how big, bold, and beautiful this is.
Well, I was thinking that they held the that cinematic screening, didn't they, for the first couple of episodes, and everyone who came out said almost by rote the exact same thing. Oh, it looks big, bold, and beautiful, and the word that always popped up was it looked cinematic. I think that's literally saying nothing. It's the minimum you would expect of a $1 billion series, is that it looks vaguely cinematic. But I'm sure they'll all give it really, really nice reviews because the studio has treated them well. Definitely people whose judgment we should trust.
Yeah, I think there are. What was that? You go ahead.
I don't think they have a choice. This is where their butter is bread. Their butter is breaded. This is where bread is buttered.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that there are, like, when you watch the trailers, I think at some points in time, this does look good. Like, it does look beautiful or whatever. And I mean, like, all the actors and actresses, I mean, you know, besides looking gay, they're all very attractive people and everything. But at the same time, so what? It looks good. You can put glitter on a piece of shit. It doesn't mean it's not still a piece of shit. So it all comes down to, like, the writing and stuff like that, and which I do not think will be good.
You know what I find? What is it? Chato? I can't pronounce your name.
Chato's
Chato.
fine.
I
Yeah.
find what you said about the looking at it from the other side very fascinating. And the problem with YouTubers and the problem with people like us, I guess, Gary and all the rest who criticize shows is that they don't see it from that perspective. It'd be really interesting to actually sit down and talk to someone about how it all works, because you just said that the reason why they made Batwoman is because the sets were up and it's easy to make whatever, but it doesn't justify the results because the results were terrible. So I'm just thinking that doesn't make any sense to me. But so how does that work? How does the whole system work? Why are these shows being made if they're rubbish?
Well, streaming has completely changed the landscape. They still haven't figured it out. I am predicting that streaming will offer paid commercial opportunities on their shows, because in the end, it's the only way to dredge up old shows that kind of disappear off the production line. Because when you commercialize something and then people find it, and then the commercial, the advertisers see that, this show has been resurrected by the interest of a group of people, and then the ad rates go up on those shows, and then the shows are promoted because everybody is making more money at it. There's actually an egalitarian reason for returning or having an option that has commercial. Again, your monthly fee could be $3 a month to be on HBO. Rather than $15 a month, just as long as you accept commercials. So in this particular case, the upside for Amazon is to have more eyeballs and more people becoming members of their channel. But they've got a weird business model in that Prime, you're also buying that to get same day delivery. That's not. They're not going to stop Prime. Prime is not suddenly going to collapse. It's just a really weird business model that I haven't figured out yet.
No, nor have I.
Paul, I have a question for you. You being an executive at one point in time, what happens? Let's just pretend that this show fails. Like they spent so much money on the rights to it. They spent so much money on every episode of this show. But let's just say they, and they'll never release the numbers. But let's just say that this show, numbers wise, it fails. Will they continue with this show because they've spent so much money already, or will they drop it?
Their payment is contingent on producing X number of shows. They have no choice.
So no matter what, we're going to get 5 seasons of this.
Something. Whatever that number is, they will lose the rights to the show if they don't make that number of shows.
And what happens if the financiers say, no, this show's really terrible, we're not going to give you any more money? What happens then? Do they still keep making it?
Well, then, but the problem is they've got to balance out losing the rights to the show. What's worse? Everything is a check and balance system, right? What's worse? In the case of Warner's, they're burying Batgirl because they're going to take the $90 million write off if it is never shown live.
Excellent.
So for them, they're burning all copies. All hard drives are going to have a drill put through them, and then they can take a $90 million write-off. So
what happens if it gets leaked?
As long as they haven't made any money from the leak, then the write-off remains.
Gotcha.
Yeah, but everyone will. If it gets leaked, all the YouTubers will be out there making.
Oh yeah, God. I pray that to the Jesus that it gets leaked. I pray.
I love cashing in on other people's failures.
Oh my, yeah. I pray.
You do, Lord. Yes. Jackass 247. Rings of Power is probably intended for 12 to 30-year-olds. as the main target audience, I bet it will be a success.
Yeah, but we won't know. We'll never know. They won't release numbers on this.
There is a person who, I can't remember his name, who is able to derive numbers from all the streamers. It will come out.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
well,
it's a fascinating exercise. I'll be watching the first show for sure.
Oh yeah.
I'm a huge Lord of the Rings fan. I don't know what this is. That's
okay.
I'm going to watch it. It's a black box.
So the flip side of the praise is
he a Vulcan?
Yeah.
Oh, no. What's this? Oh, sorry.
Kind of. Variety is saying some fans have already decided that this is strayed too much from the original source material,
which it has because they don't have the rights to it.
Correct. But in terms of Peter Jackson's oeuvre being the visual source material, that's what people are referring to.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting, this one. I'm sure all the YouTubers are just sat waiting for this.
But this is partly why stories like this come out. I mean, there is a marketing utility to stoking up controversy. We saw the same thing happen with Obi-Wan Kenobi and the alleged racial abuse suffered by Moses Ingram. In that it's commodifying outrage, essentially. I mean, I work in journalism in real life. If you want to get massive amounts of free publicity for a show these days, what you do is you essentially invent a massive race crisis, and then you will get acres of free coverage in media as everyone picks it up and says, star of brand new show coming out, debuting on Amazon this week, has been subjected to racial abuse. No one's really paying attention to the story. Everyone's paying attention to another mention in the press of the new show that's coming out. It might eventually all fall down around them, but it is it's the exact same thing that Donald Trump used to do as well. This is a brilliant way of generating free coverage for yourself. You stoke controversy and you rely on people not to pay too much attention to the detail.
I don't see how this is of benefit to them. That kind of I think they just don't understand what's of interest to people from a controversy perspective. Donald Trump said the wall. We have to build a wall between the United States and Mexico. Mm-hmm. There's, as controversial it was, there's a crap ton of people who agreed with this. I don't know anyone who agrees with a victim publicity.
No. I mean, it's not so much that people agree with the subject of the article, because most people don't read articles. But the market value in this, it seems to me, is that you're getting yet more mentions of the fact that the show is coming out. So if this is star of brand new show coming out, the important bit in the headline is brand new show coming out from the studio's perspective, I'd have assumed. In the same way that when Trump says something controversial, he gets about $2 billion of free campaign airtime because everyone's obsessing about the controversy. Is it or is it not a controversial thing? Is the racism thing real or is it not? But most people are now aware that there is a new show coming out, and that's why I think they do a lot of this. I mean, you certainly see newspapers act as though this is the case, and most newspaper business models are actually predicated on this financially now as well. The New York Times developed an entire emotion-seeking algorithm for exactly this purpose and then sold the rights to its data to advertisers. I mean, it's a very, very useful thing. It's a sort of seedy feedback loop between studios and newspapers.
Well, the one thing I would say is that we're now so used to insurance companies showing interracial couples on their ads. This no longer is interesting.
Really? They do that?
Is there an ad out there with some mix that isn't out there with some mix? I mean, it doesn't make sense.
Okay, so depending on which side of the fence you sat on, we're going to get 5 seasons probably no matter what. So.
God. Well, good luck to them.
Yeah, good luck. I mean, I'll be watching the first show.
I've been watching none of it.
Okay, so this is the Zaslav.
What's he killed now?
Everybody, I think. It says here he's laid off many HBO Max execs. Laid off HBO Max execs say that Warner Brothers Discovery is killing off diversity in an effort to court middle America.
Is he talking about the Star Trek show there?
No, it's just generally speaking, HBO has allegedly laid off a disproportionate number of diverse people who hate their audience in a bid to actually court an audience who will watch their shows, which is a really shocking idea in modern media.
It makes sense.
Makes
sense. Totally makes sense.
Paul, your views of the...
Well, first of all, this guy's a shill, and if you read, what?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Shill alert.
You should have a little graphic that comes up. And so this individual has no idea what's going on. What's going on within HBO. A lot of the diverse group is actually, they lost in the publicity department, not the show making department.
Right.
The people who are doing the social media, a lot of that diversity, apparently, again, most of these companies have a huge amount of diversity, except in the decision-making suites. I will completely agree with that. Although they've as you mentioned, Lynn is now a major decision maker. But in the United States, I won't get into this 2 episode. There's only 2 victim groups allowed, and an Oriental does not count. And they just do well in school. They're considered white. So they're not allowed to be considered a victim group. They're not allowed.
That's why they changed the acronym from BAME to BIPOC, didn't they? Because the existence of Asians sort of disproved the validity of the acronym.
Correct. Yeah. So in the United States, there's only 2 victim groups. And in this particular case, you've got people who are now desperate to go after Zaslav. And now they're attacking him, and no one is waiting for the results of his efforts.
In the chat, Jackass, I read HBO has the budget for promoting 3 movies this year.
I that can't. Is that true? I heard it was only 2 movies.
Was it Warner's? It's Warner's. It's the feature films, isn't it?
I mean, Paul, would that be true that they can only do 2 more movies this year, and that's why it's
promoting only 2 more movies? I don't. They've got a whole slate of movies that they are contractually kind of obligated to make, and some of them have, as your compatriot said, The Message. And we'll see just how much they can adjust it before they get shot and released. In terms of money, HBO is, I'm not saying bleeding, but Zaslav has cut so much. And again, whenever you fire people, you actually have to pay them severance. There's a lot of money going out, and he's just trying to get that, rip the bandage off the wound, get this thing going, and, predict happy. They want to sign up Cavill, Affleck, and Wonder Woman, Godot, and they're going to re-energize the entire movie side of things. But
is that what they're going to do? Get the Cavill, Godot,
and Affleck? They're going to get really good individual movies. They're going to create fantastic, straightforward movies for all of them. Wonder Woman will not show up in a shopping center.
There was a recording I heard from some important guy, and they asked him, who was connected to this, asked him, is Cavill going to come back? And he said, well, put it this way, I'm not going to give out a spoiler. So apparently he's coming back, apparently.
Oh, I have no doubt. No doubt he's coming back. I don't have any inside info, but I mean, that I would just take the bank truck, back up to his driveway, and then flip.
There you go, mate.
I think we said on a previous stream, Cavill should just play hard to get, take the piss, and just take as much as he can.
But he wants to be the definitive.
He does.
Yeah,
he is happy to do it. He's a fan of the character.
He is.
I can't speak on behalf, but I am certain he doesn't like the way the character was treated. Not even himself.
He won't even say. He can't say it though. That's the thing.
No, he can't. But could you imagine? Like, no one on the Disney side or the Marvel side, especially with version 6 or 5 or whatever the heck that they're going to do with the MCU. Could you imagine? Do they have any lineup? Like, think of this as a football lineup. Do they have a center, a midfielder, and a goalkeeper?
Nope.
like Gadot, Cavill, and Affleck.
Yeah.
Not in a million years.
Yeah. Affleck's definitely back though.
Oh
And,
yeah, and he was a
Batman.
great Batman.
Yeah.
At least
So
not a
definitely.
million years, but at least for the next 5 years, I think that's what Zaslav is going to rebuild.
It's a good idea.
Okay,
and it's
let's,
a good road to go down.
I agree, but mentally it sounds right.
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
It's what the customers want.
Yes,
Simple.
and Zaslav's good at
It's not,
that.
it's not rocket science. Okay,
No.
we'll move through these because there's a lot of Warner stuff. As we said, we've previously mentioned House of the Dragon season 2, so we'll move on from that.
Fantastic.
Speaking of said hard drives that were drilled,
What a load of bollocks. Come on.
Yeah, I love
Come
how
on.
everybody was saying they were trying to retrieve some footage or whatever. I was like, you're just stealing. This is stealing. You're walking into a place you used to work and you're stealing stuff that's not yours. Like,
But she just looks so stupid in that costume, and that mask doesn't even fit her.
yeah,
properly.
this is the
It's
worst
ridiculous.
outfit. Yeah, they
She's
should have.
actually a very
worst.
good actor. Of all the people, she's actually. It's too bad. I feel badly for her because she's sweet and a good actor. The problem is, I'm tired of 90-pound women who apparently can beat the shit out of 6'3" men. I'm like, enough. Which
Those
is
are the
one of
directors,
reasons
aren't
I
they?
loved Gina Carano on The Mandalorian.
she looked convincing.
She looked convincing, and she moved convincingly.
And she could beat the crap out of me, you, and everybody else. So there you go.
We'd love it, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so as Batgirl is gone completely.
Well,
God,
it's so, as I said before, it's so weird how they've cast this little woman as Batgirl. And if you look at the comics, Batgirl's just sexy as hell, isn't she? She's got that body, she's got that tight suit.
No, you can't have that.
Well,
Yeah,
they
and-
should reconsider.
Well,
Yeah,
Red
like-
Sonja has been recast.
Yeah.
Who has been recast?
They race swapped Red Sonja and now have this really stunning, tall Italian model
Cool.
Yeah, I saw that.
who's
Okay,
very
so-
hot. And I'm allowed.
okay.
Am I allowed to say that?
Of course you
Sure.
are.
Okay. thanks.
Okay, so we're not going to see Batgirl anytime soon.
Speaking of 90-pound women, oh, perfect. Does anyone know who he's assaulted this week? That's the only question I want to ask.
Himself.
He's been put on ice.
Good.
Yeah.
He's promised to be a good boy. They need him off the table for the next 3 quarters so they can at least release the movie with the reshoots and make some money off it.
Is the movie good though? Like this is reporting.
The test screenings have been good. So that's all.
Genuinely good.
No, they said Batman versus Superman test screenings were good. Come on. Come on.
I heard it tested in the 80s. So I mean,
It's same thing with Superman versus Batman. They had a standing ovation after they had the test screening. So come on. And that film was awful. Come on,
in the chat, Time Profits, Ezra has superpowers. He can get away with anything.
That costume's awful.
Yeah, I don't like it either.
You know what? The Batman Superman thing, I will take that movie, and I've watched it a couple times, over any of the Disney Star Wars movies.
Oh God, yes.
They're unwatchable again. I found out. Wait a second, I can't watch this again. I will take, because those two guys had at least charisma.
Yeah. Okay.
So yep.
So
Is Gail
we're gonna see
Simone?
this.
Is Gail Simone involved in Ransonia?
Don't know.
Don't
know.
If she
No.
is, it's bad. It's bad.
No. Oh, you mean the writer? Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Gail
believe-
Simone sucks.
I believe they have to use her Red Sonja.
Oh man, then it's gonna be bad.
So everything else they're changing, but from a story perspective, that's the one thing that everyone is worried about.
Yeah, she sucks. I don't like any of her comics. So
Speaking of sucks, Headshot says it's Hollywood's rent boy, Ezra Miller. Okay, so let's move on. Yeah, so he's just kind of, okay, I'll be a good boy now.
Yeah, but has he said it though, or is it just publicity?
With his fingers, he's got his fingers crossed.
I did read that he flew to California and met with Abdi and what's his face, the other guy that's running Warner Brothers. That he met with them in person to apologize and all that stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah. Yeah, so maybe I don't. From what I've read / heard online is that he's done after this movie. He's done with Hollywood, but he really wants this movie to get out there. I'm pretty sure it's because he's going to get a bonus if it does well.
In the United States, people love a redemption stories. They love it. So, and there's a huge financial penalty if the movie fails. They're taking it out of his pocket.
Right on.
The film better be good, because I don't like the idea there's more than one Ezra Miller in the film, so it's not going to be good.
Okay, let's move on then.
The multiverse.
Okay, so still connected with DC. This is going back to they've only got enough money to release 2 films.
Oh, I see. Right. I haven't heard this news actually.
Yeah, they've only got enough money to release the 2 films on the left, Black Adam, and I can't make out the name of the other one.
Don't Worry, Darling. Don't Worry, Darling is the other one with Florence Pugh.
Aquaman has been put back another year.
By almost a year.
Which is insane.
Christmas next year.
It is ultra woke, and they're thinking of not just in the process of changing herd, they're reshooting all sorts of new stuff.
They're actually
rescripting it.
Oh, gotcha.
What's her name? What's her name? Puke, whatever her name is.
Florence Pugh.
Florence Pugh. What is she in then?
She's Yelena Belova in the Marvel universe in that Black Widow movie. Then she was also in Little.
No, I know what she was in. What is that a film that she's in here?
Yeah, Don't Worry, Darling. It's the new one with her and what's that guy in that?
Is that Harry Styles?
Harry Styles.
They yeeted what's his name?
Shia LaBeouf.
He's Shia LaBeouf, that's the one.
Yeah.
Apparently he was too aggressive and didn't make for a nice, happy feeling.
I love the drama behind that whole thing. Did you guys see that video that Olivia Wilde had sent to him and then he leaked it online or whatever, where she's begging him to come back?
Olivia Wilde?
Yeah, Olivia Wilde is directing. And
is she?
Yeah, so
they gave her another job after the crap she made before. Come on,
yeah, of course. Everybody.
What's that all about?
Yeah, so she said she fired Shia LaBeouf, right? But then he was like, I left, and you begged me to come back. I have it on video. So then the video got leaked of her begging him to come back. She even throws Florence Pugh under the bus in that little video that she recorded in her car, and I love it because now she looks totally bad. Everybody's like, you're a liar, and it's so good. I love the.
I used to fancy her when she was in House.
Yeah, she's still hot. She's still hot. I think so. She's fit.
She's fit.
Yeah.
Excellent. I don't like Puke though, because I've met her in real life. She's really tiny. She's got a wide butt, and she's not. She looks better on screen.
Is that a bad thing?
No, I'm just saying she doesn't look like the way she looks like on screen. She's a small girl.
Oh, gotcha.
She's a small girl.
I think the hottest woman in entertainment right now, apart from Gal Gadot, is the female lead in Ted Lasso.
Oh yes!
Oh, wow,
I would agree with you there.
I love her.
Oh, do you? I'll pass the message on.
Juno Temple. Is it Juno Temple, the blonde girl, or the old woman, the old blonde lady, or the younger one? No, the old one. Yeah, she's hot for an older lady.
I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
I absolutely love her.
Yeah,
she's sexy.
Yeah,
sexy woman.
I would have been one of her love toys in season 2.
Gal Gadot's amazing though.
I love her too. Yeah, she's great.
She's lovely. It's a shame they don't really play on the Wonder Woman character at all. But anyway,
Paul, is Black Adam going to be any good?
It's going to be a piece of shit.
Wow!
Just say what you mean,
even
mate.
with the Rock behind it.
Yeah, it's like in some ways he's Jason Momoa in just a rubber suit, whereas it's enjoyable to watch Jason Momoa, but not enjoyable to watch The Rock. It's like the suit is he's just playing himself.
Oh, right, okay.
And part of the problem with The Rock is that it's like a tertiary, quadtertiary tier character in the universe.
Yeah.
And so not only do most people have no idea what he is, it's just The Rock in a rubber suit.
And also, right, there's nothing special about that trailer at all. You've seen
No, the
everything
trailer's
in
horrible.
other movies. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
there you go.
Are they real quick? I'm sorry to continue this because the Black Adam. I just read Jeff Johns' run on that, and I guess this is what it's based off of. Is it not like that comic book? Because that comic book wasn't half bad. The only thing I don't like is Black Adam's a villain, so stop trying to make him into this anti-hero. I want my bad guys bad, and I'm afraid that he won't ever be bad. He'll just be, this
Because he's The Rock.
Yeah, see, I don't like that. I'm like, you can be a bad guy in a movie.
And his powers are ambiguous. I'm not familiar with the comic book, but I went, oh, this is kind of like Superman. Like, I don't understand what his special angle is.
Yeah, he's just like, know? Yeah, he's got super strength and he can fly. But he's just like Captain Marvel, Shazam. He just like the
SmackDown.
Yeah, he flies around and fights people with his super strength and everything.
Does he turn into Nichelle Nichols?
He does.
Okay, we'll briefly finish on this one. Nichelle Nichols' ashes are going to be put into orbit around the sun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Seems a fitting tribute to a great actress.
I love
from
her.
a great TV series.
I met her.
Movies.
Yeah, I did too. She was the sweetest lady. She was so nice. She's so sweet.
Met her in 1972 at the Star Trek convention at the Royal York Hotel in Toronto.
Wow.
Along with McGinn. Scotty.
Wow.
I can't, Captain, she can't take any more.
Did you go to the expo over the weekend?
No, I have not. No.
All right, because my brother went.
Star Trek,
I'll get a report back.
I went to Expo. As our comedy group has got a character called Mr. Canoehead, Canada's crime fighter, and we went promoting Mr. Canoehead. Huge lineups. It was great.
Nice. Mr. Canoehead.
Mr. Canoehead. So this is great news. Amazing.
Apparently, it's there's going to be other space enthusiasts' ashes as well.
Wow.
And I think the owners or the proprietors of the company said we'll take Nichelle, which was a nice gesture.
Maybe they should do that to the cast of Discovery, but don't wait for them to die. Maybe they should, maybe we should do that now.
Right.
Yeah, it's always a challenge sending a spaceship to the sun, and the only way they can prevent it from burning up is to go at night.
I think that is it, folks. Please consider donating to the channel. Links in the description, pin message, all that stuff. So
good stuff.
Oh, look at that!
Oh, there you go.
That is scary.
So I will thank the chats. Always great to see the same faces and a few new faces there. So cheers for the interaction, guys. And we'll see you next time.
A pleasure meeting you all, and I will check out your channels. And you guys are fantastic.
I will just thank the guests. Lord Chord, thank you, my friend.
Thank you as ever.
Ian, cheers, mate.
No worries.
Matt Katz, cheers, buddy.
As always, I have a great time.
And last but by no means least, first time on the channel, the wonderful Call Me Chato.
Whatever. In Hungarian, it actually
friend. Thank you, my friend.
If you want to do the Hungarian version, it's Chato.
Chato. I think that's it, folks. We will possibly turn up midweek. I always say that, but we never do. Definitely be back next weekend. So have a great week, everybody. If you're in the UK, enjoy the bank holiday. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.
Ta.
Bye.